The years leading up to and during menopause are a rite of passage. The wise woman inside of us is calling to slow down, to take stock, to speak our truth, to burn away all that no longer serves us, ready for our next cycle of life. The good news is, with the support, community, connection, and most of all, sharing our stories and being truly seen and heard, we will travel through this powerful, sometimes painful, heroine's journey and out the other side. Welcome to the Menopause Podcast, real and raw stories of midlife and mental health. I'm your host, Kylie Patchett, menopause self-care coach and storyteller, and I am so glad you found us. Let's get on with the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another beautiful episode of the podcast. I have a very cool expert today, Aline McCarthy. Hello, Aline. How are you?
Hi, lovely to meet you. Yeah, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
I love your accent. So beautiful. I just want you to just speak. Let's just have a whole episode of you just chatting. Now, for those people that are listening in who have not intersected with you yet, could you introduce yourself and the work that you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm Aline McCarthy. I'm a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, amongst lots of other qualifications.
Yes. A whole website page, in fact.
I love my courses.
Yes, you do. You would have a one in human design, I'm guessing. But anyway, continue.
You could do that. You can do that for me later. Yeah. I specialize in gut health and midlife hormones in particular.
Oh, we have so much to talk about. Okay. I'm interested. How did you come to specialize in gut health? Because I know you had a bit of a personal journey that led you to this sort of work as well. And this is what I love, the stories behind why people do what they do in the world. Like, I just think that is such a precious golden thread that always, runs through the life of someone. It's like, what led you here? So how did you come to do this sort of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So after I had my second child, early 30s, I had debilitating chronic back pain. And I tried a lot of things for it. My own husband is an osteopath. I was doing body work and aromatherapy and a lot of health things, but I could not get better. And it got to a point where I couldn't sit, I couldn't stand, I wasn't sleeping at all because the pain was just nonstop and excruciating. And
that is chronic, isn't it?
I saw surgeons and neurologists and rheumatologists and all sorts of different doctors, and eventually got an autoimmune diagnosis for rheumatoid arthritis. But again, later, and seeing another rheumatologist, he said I didn't have it. Nevertheless, I was put on a very heavy cocktail of drugs, all of the different addictive painkillers that exist in the world, plus antidepressants, plus Valium, plus obviously autoimmune drugs and steroids. Honestly, my health just kept spiraling downwards to the point where I was basically suicidal because I had these little kids. I really wanted to be there for them. I couldn't function, and the drugs just made me absolutely stir crazy. So I decided to, not follow the drug path anymore, and I found my own way of healing, because I was obviously already in the natural health realm before, and I had an interest in that since I was a very young child, actually. So I remember that calling that I had as a 5-year-old, and started to really, work with an integrative doctor, look at my gut health, look at my nutrition, and working out lots of different factors that were impacting my health, plus obviously doing exercise rehab and all the other stuff you need to be doing. So it was very, very comprehensive, and it took many years, but I am pain-free and really thriving now. So I'm passionate showing other women that, looking back in my 20s, I had so much anxiety, I had constant thrush, I had low mood issues, and I was on the pill, and looking back now, understanding I didn't just arrive in my 30s having a
No.
breakdown of my health. It's been coming for a long time.
Yeah, it's the
I just
accumulation.
didn't know about it. I wasn't told about it. My blood tests were always normal.
Oh,
and
don't even get me started
yeah.
on the reference ranges for blood tests. Anyway, please continue.
Exactly. So now I'm really passionate about showing women that they can have so much positive impact with the right nutrition, sleep, lifestyle, all of the different things. And it's so very doable.
Let's just marinate in that for a second. We have so much more power to change our health than what we are taught by conventional medicine. Let's just put that in big underline block capital neons. I'm interested in a few things. What do you, when you look back, like you're saying, there's a lot of different imbalance kind of red flags that you had just described. What do you think happened, or why was child rearing or child birthing the trigger point? Because I'm suspecting you're going to say something very similar to what happens in midlife, or what is your answer to that?
What is the answer to that? There's always a variety of different root causes or factors for anything, right? There isn't just one root cause. So it's usually a very unique combination that can be different for each person. But for me, I already had a scoliosis, so there is a imbalance in my structural musculoskeletal system. And then childbirth completely changes your pelvic structure and your pelvic floor, and all those ligaments in my pelvis got overstretched, and I had complete instability.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily cause excruciating pain in every single woman, right?
No.
Even though that process does happen to pretty much every woman, to let the baby pass through
out.
canal. So I obviously was also just very inflamed on top of that, and that inflammation can come from so many different things. Then you're not sleeping because the newborn baby wakes you up all the time.
You didn't get the memo about the sleep.
Lost all of your muscle strength, and you're lifting a very quickly growing baby and toddler on top of that all the time.
Yeah.
All the gear that you're schlepping around with
my goodness,
bags and trolleys and strollers and whatnot. And then, the disconnection from community and having to do that on my own, my husband being at work all day and working hard for us, but not having the support that women traditionally do. Toxic load was probably there. So I had to switch to a low tox household.
Yes.
And then also the hormones completely crashing after you give birth. I mean, pregnancy in itself is an amazing hormonal change. And then you give birth and everything goes.
And everything.
And you're breastfeeding and those hormones come in. And that mixed up with, all the underlying things that have probably accumulated during my 20s with underlying thrush and candida and lots of antibiotics, constant antibiotics, and just probably not having that immune function anymore from all of that as well, like a wiped out gut microbiome and all those things accumulating. So it's like if you're imagining a bucket full of water and it keeps filling up, and maybe childbirth was just that drop that finally got it to overflow, and it was just too much for my body to take. And it was basically saying, have a rest. We're going to send you some strong messages that you cannot continue.
Yes.
You felt down like that. You need to change things, the way you're doing things. And I had to stop and listen to that message, unfortunately.
Do you ever go back to that kind of fork in the road moment when you're on the cocktail of everything, you've gone down the medical model, and you make a decision that, no, I'm going to try this differently? Do you ever go down the track in your mind of where would I be now had I continued?
Yes, I honestly believe I would be I would be completely disabled. I felt completely disempowered, and I questioned why I gave my power away in the first place? Why did I blindly trust drugs and, things that were prescribed to me by a variety of different doctors?
Yeah, chronic pain does crazy things though, doesn't it?
Yeah, you get in a fear mode, and you give your own power and your own authority kind of away, and you're desperate for help. So you're ready to try anything that can potentially help. And then it takes a while to catch yourself and go, actually, hang on, like, what is real here? What is maybe doesn't sit right with me, and what else, is there other options even?
Yes.
And finding that, taking that power and that control back was a very important part. And losing that for a while was obviously part of my journey. So
the contrast sometimes,
questioning things, not blindly trusting everything, and accepting both conventional medicine and natural medicine can work beautifully together. We just need to, apply it in the right way and have informed discussions, and then make informed and empowered choices with that.
Yeah. And I feel like too, when you, particularly if you're at 5, you already had that inkling that natural health was a calling for you. I imagine there comes a point in time when you realize that the medical model feels out of alignment to what, your natural calling. I am putting words into your mouth completely, but I'm just imagining that if you start with that, calling and love and framework, and then find yourself completely in an opposite direction, that there might come a time when you sort of think, whoa, okay, maybe I do need to actually think about, or not even think, feel in my body, because the cocktail of drugs. Yeah, it's interesting we're talking right now, because I have just got an autoimmune diagnosis, and when you're talking about pregnancy, like, I believe my tipping point was just the hormonal changes in perimenopause to tip myself into chronic pain. But I have Ehlers-Danlos, which is, it's just a different ligament thing. But I had 2 babies 12 months apart, and I never, my body never recovered. So if you imagine what you're talking about, your pelvis softens anyway, but someone with Ehlers-Danlos softens way more than what they should. So it's just funny how, I always thought that my health and lifespan were going to be just as long as each other. And then all of a sudden I hit a personal wall where I was waking up in pain every morning, and I was like, this is not my story. So I've had a similar kind of like, okay, now we need to look at everything that we can change, influence, etc., through lifestyle choices, etc. I'm curious, when you were seeing the first doctors that gave you the autoimmune diagnosis and not those two, was there any discussion then about lifestyle influencing factors?
No, nothing whatsoever. It was just a drug-based solution. There was no discussion about food or other exercise. They were just like, oh, well, continue exercising if you want to, sort of thing. But
oh, wow, okay.
There was nothing at all that was mentioned. And that's where you feel hopeless and lost, because it is so out of your control, and the only thing you can do is take a box full of pills every day. And that's not what I ever liked doing and what I ever wanted to do. And so it completely didn't sit right with me, and I hated every pill that I had to take. But those 3 pivotal times for women: puberty, pregnancy and childbirth, and then perimenopause, menopause, is these 3 times where our hormones are on a crazy sort of roller coaster ride. And many beautiful things happen in that time, but it can certainly stir up, if you have a genetic predisposition and lots of underlying factors, it can stir up a lot of autoimmune cases. So women will usually get a diagnosis very early on when they go through puberty. If not, they will get it during the child rearing years in that pregnancy time. And then the third risky time is obviously then in perimenopause. So
Yep.
and again, it can take women up to 10 years to finally get a proper diagnosis, and in the meantime, they think they're going mad, all the symptoms they're having. So it's not particularly easy to finally find an answer. And then once you've found an answer, it's kind of a label that doesn't necessarily help you to know, well, but what's caused me to be labeled with that, or what's caused that gene that is been lying dormant, what's caused
expressed
on. Is it really just a hormonal fluctuation? Probably not. There's probably some other things that have been going on. Again, like that bucket overflowing, the hormonal fluctuation was just one thing, many for your body to kind of deal with. And then also, it's just really important to know that once the gene has turned on, nobody has really found a way to turn it back off. And the person who does will win a Nobel Prize or something.
Yes.
But we can go into remission, right? And we can lead relatively normal lives and feel good about ourselves and be symptom-free as well. So there is a lot of work involved in that. And for sure, you got to change that mindset of going, why me, and that whole victim mentality. And I certainly spent a good 2 years feeling like a total victim. And again, that really disempowered me, like I had to probably go through that. But it wasn't nice. I'm very lucky my husband is still married to me.
Yeah, me too.
Living with a victim is not a nice thing either.
No, it's not.
And it's not nice looking back going, oh my gosh, I was such a victim. But we can step out of that and transform it into something positive, and just so many things you can improve.
Yeah, I totally agree. You're right. It's not the hormones that's the thing that causes things. It's just that was the tipping point. And I can look back and go, oh, so many warning signs. Anyway, but I guess too, that's probably another point to bring to the surface is, well, at least in my own journey, my experience, I was choosing to be too busy to listen earlier in my life, and now I can't ignore what's going on because it's gotten to that like chronic level. And I think that there's a bit of that too, is like you were saying before, like your body was whispering, it was talking to you, it was giving you little nudges, and we just don't necessarily either listen, or even if we do listen, we're not really understanding what that's about, I guess. When you switched to integrative medicine, and then you did lots and lots of obviously study and diving into how to heal yourself and then to do that work with the women, what you've talked about, like you went low tox, like I know that the approach has to be so holistic, but could you pull out kind of the main things to consider, if that's possible in an hour chat? That's probably not, but big bold heading.
Big bold heading. So I always start with the basics, because even though they sound very boring and they're not the sexy new shiny thing that
they're the things that we
creates a lot of clickbait on social media, they are the things that are still making the most impact and are often missed. Again, it is in human nature to jump for a new supplement or a new drug or the newest 10-day water fast because it just sounds so radical and it's completely going to heal me. But what I see making the biggest difference on working with women on a daily basis is really, are you hydrated? Are you getting enough nutrients? Are you eating enough food? Because a lot of women actually undereat.
Yeah.
Even if they are gaining weight, they can still be under eating or not eating the right things, so they're not nourishing their body properly. And are they sleeping well?
Sleeping.
Implementing some movement, and what's their nervous system doing? So it's that consistently, and a lot of people are like, like I am drinking enough water, and that's not anything particularly interesting. But when we check, are they doing it really consistently for 3 months at the time? Probably not, And so again, if your cells don't get the hydration that they need, they're not going to function very well. We need to look at, yes, your digestion, because that's where you get your nutrients in, and that's the seat of your immune system. That's the seat, it's your second brain in the body. It influences so many different things in your body, but we also need to break it further down and look at your cellular function. Like if you're on a blood sugar roller coaster ride, the glucose isn't getting into the cells, and then the cells can't make energy, and they can't do any of the things that they're meant to be doing. So you've got a cellular health problem across the board. And if you only have a few cells that are not working well, you're probably going to be fine.
Yeah.
But if a lot of cells are starting to not get what they need in the first place, the nutrients, the hydration, the glucose, the oxygen, then there's going to be dysfunction in that organ, and then there's going to be a dysfunction across the organ system, and nothing in body works in isolation. So there's like this metabolic chaos happening.
Oh, I love that term, metabolic chaos.
Then we need to unravel the metabolic chaos.
That's such a good way of explaining it, isn't it? I have an original degree in cell biochemistry, and you just reminded me of all the, I'm talking decades ago. But I always, even when I was learning about like mitochondria for the very first time, I'm like, oh, there's little power packs of and I do think that there is a tendency to go and look for the new thing that's going to help, but it's like, are you doing all of the basics? And I really had to, I think when I hit perimenopause, I had really, really significant mental health and mood disturbances for the very first time. And I was like, far out. And one of the things that forced me to do, which again, it's nice to have the contrast. I definitely did the victim mode for quite the minute, but is just go back to the basics of like, am I actually getting sleep every night consistently? And if I can't get it every night, is it only 1 or 2 that I'm not across a month? I think we know what we need to do, but like you're saying, are we actually doing it? And like I'm working with a naturopath at the moment around inflammation, to looking at chronic pain triggers, etc. And one of the things that she wants me to be doing is drinking 3.25 liters of water a day. So I put a little tally on my, when I get my water from the kitchen, I put a little tally on. And if you'd asked me if I was drinking enough water, I would have 100%. I've always got a water bottle with me. Turns out I was only drinking probably 2 liters of water, and it's often 36 plus degrees where I live. Yeah. So when you think about how much you're actually losing just from being dehydrated from, hot, dry, windy conditions. So that's been quite confronting in a way. It's like, but I thought I was doing all of these things. I was not.
Until you actually start tracking it and putting the focus and attention there, we all think, I'm eating healthy, and yes, we are, but how much, are you eating? How much protein? How much carbs? How many fat? How many calories? How potassium are you getting each day? Just because you're getting water in, and very few people are getting enough water in, but particularly in hotter climates like Australia in summer. But do you have enough minerals and electrolytes to get that water into the cellular tissue?
Yes.
I mean, a lot of water is, crappy quality. It's been stripped of minerals. It's got added chlorine and fluoride to it. And that's just, without talking any of the other contaminants that could be in there. So we don't get the natural cellular hydration anymore that our ancestors maybe did when they were drinking out of lakes and ponds and streams, rivers. And yes, the water was dirty, but it came with minerals and sand and things that had, natural, dirt in it. And the dirt probably was also
It's
You
probably
know, it was probably
microbially good. Yeah.
microbially good, and our body knows what to do with that, and our microbes know what to do with that. And so, in our attempt, and for sure, there is a lot of benefit to having totally clean water. I'm not denying it. It's obviously pushed ours, so the survival
Yes.
up a lot, but we're kind of overdoing it with over sanitizing things, disinfecting everything to the nth degree, and adding all these chemicals in the end, and completely stripping the nutrients from everything as well. So, there are so many conversations to be had about that with food and with our sleep, and with our blue light exposure, and the further away we remove ourselves from nature, and how our genes and our cells have evolved in beautiful communication with microbes that we can't even grasp what it all does, like the intelligence of that communication of these billion microbes living inside and on top of us, being connected to our earth, to our mother earth, and that communication that happens there, that I don't think we will ever be able to understand that fully, what intelligence lies therein. But the further we remove ourselves from that, the more disease we start to happen, and the more we kill our Mother Earth, the more we destroy that capacity to interact with our ecosystem. In the end, we're still animals.
Yeah.
And we have to accept that we live in this ecosystem, and we can only thrive if we, attempt to go back to that, and use technology and podcasts and Zoom calls and beautiful things that we have to enhance our lives, but not overdo them, and not see ourselves as separate to nature.
Yeah, I saw this is a very old meme, but I saw it again the other day about everything that humans do is in boxes now. We go to work in a box with fluorescent light, we eat out of a box, we watch a box, all. And I was like, wow, that's so true, isn't it? Just I was at an art workshop for the whole of last weekend at my friend's an amazing pastel artist, and she's got this beautiful backyard with this really big tree. So no matter how hot it is, it's always like shady and cool under there. And just sitting there and just being in nature, rather than, because we're in drought where I live, so it is very almost a bit depressing actually, looking at, there's just, the whole landscape is dry, there's no grasses, all of those things. But just sitting there in the greenery and looking at the shapes of, she's got this like mapley sort of tree, the one with all the little fingers on the leaves and stuff. I'm just like, just forget how nourishing just being there and allowing your eyes to just alight on all of the different shades of greens, the shapes of the trees, and like just all of that stuff. I thought, far out, that's something that I'm not prioritizing, particularly because it's so hot. But I need to get back to getting out before it gets hot in the morning, and just having that connection time, because it's not good to not have it. And then I think the blue light and our exposure, like everything being 24 hours, like we're not meant to be living like that. Like one of my original roles was in sleep medicine, and just from a sleep hygiene perspective, it's like we're meant to be going to bed when the sun goes down, or not, not directly, but we're meant to be winding down for the evening as the sun goes down, and we're meant to be up with the sun. And we just, I don't know, interrupt all of those things. Something that you said before I wanted to come back to. So we've talked about all the boring basics, which none of us are doing pretty much. When you talked about the gut being the second brain, can you tell us a little bit more about that and the impact on poor gut health and mental health, and how that interplay occurs? Hey, gorgeous. We interrupt this gold for a delicious invitation. If your whole body has been whispering more lately, more voice, more truth, more satisfaction, more clients of the soulmate variety, more cash, more you, then this invitation is for you. Potent, my sister mind is officially open. This is my high touch, holy fuck, I'm ready sister mind for rebels in good girl clothing, who are done outsourcing their power and diluting their magic to fit into someone else's business formula. If you have been craving a space where your strategy, your voice, and your energy all get to be offered, honored, refined, and amplified, this is it. Inside of Potent, you'll get my eyes on your business every single week, copy mentoring, and that is for brand copy and content storytelling that turns your truth into client catnip, energetic recalibration that helps you unhook old learned limitation patterns, keeping you quiet, not being seen, not being heard, real-time, high-touch, one-on-one coaching that actually sees the bigness of your vision, and the kind of sisterhood that does not flinch when you show up in your full, messy, brilliant, phoenix rising from the ashes glory. This isn't surface level support. It's deep, potent, paradigm shifting work that changes who you are as a woman in business and a woman in life. We start in August. Early open access is open right now. For the month of June 2025, inside of this early access open doors period, you will receive juicy bonuses, extended payment plans, and access immediately to my entire library of storytelling gold. You'll find all the juicy details at kyliepatchett.com/potent. And we fill spaces, and there's only 10 of them, and more than likely only 5 by the time you listen to this, because by that time I will have offered them to the existing cohort, the beautiful original OG circle. We do actually take applications on a first come, first served basis. So come and apply, and let's get back to the magic of the episode.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the gut houses the enteric nervous system, the gut brain. It also has a huge amount of lymphatic tissue. So that's why it's often called the second brain. It's got a huge amount of, our nervous system is not just in the brain, it's also in the gut. And the gut brain and the brain
the two brains
communicate constantly. So our brain in the head has a huge interest in what is happening in our digestive system. And that makes sense from an evolutionary perspective, because humans could eat plants that would poison them and they would die, and and the nutrients coming in, obviously that's what keeps us alive. So for sure, there is a lot of focus on constantly monitoring what is happening in that digestive process to keep us alive. And that through that gut-brain axis, or the vagus nerve, that nerve that kind of innervates our organs, 80% of those fibers actually send information up to the brain, and only about 20% go down into the other organs. So
feedback system.
Our brain constantly reaching out to monitor, for sure, because it's our survival, what is happening in all those different organs. And if there is inflammation as a broad term, our brain will pick it up. And, we are now finding out that things can travel up the vagus nerve and inflame our brain and affect our moods. Particularly for autoimmunity, they've done some very interesting studies of, implanting little electric stimulators that stimulate the vagus nerve and completely reversing the autoimmune symptoms for people. Unfortunately, we can't all get an electric implant yet, but it gives a good insight into how powerful that nerve is, and how calming it down or stimulating it in a way can have such a huge impact. So, does that kind of answer?
It does. I feel like maybe we need to just but just to give a couple of definitions. So when we're talking about inflammation, and also now that we've kind of started talking about the vagus nerve, if we can talk about nervous system regulation, because I feel like the vagus nerve and nervous system regulation is having their time in the social media spotlight, which then also means that, as you said before, clickbait wise, there may be some kind of part information or even misinformation sometimes out there. So when you say inflammation, can you give us a kind of bundled up description of what you mean about that, and then nervous system regulation?
Yeah, sure. So we obviously have to distinguish between acute inflammation, which is a completely normal and completely healthy process.
Yes.
You injure yourself, your body creates inflammation at the injury site, sends all the immune cells there to repair. And, or if you get, COVID, you get a fever. The fever is part of the inflammatory process, and it's actually a healing response from your body. The only problem that happens when that inflammation becomes chronic and long-term, and then symptoms persist, and, healing doesn't occur. And again, inflammation is not the root cause. It's just a process in the body that can be happening for so many different reasons, being exposed to toxins that we've never been exposed before in human history, hundreds and thousands of different chemicals that we don't even know how they interact with each other.
Yeah.
And what that cocktail does within our biochemistry or with our microbiome. We're just getting more and more studies testing one single, chemical in our personal care or cleaning products and stuff like that. It can be from, again, having a constant antibiotics exposure and having a complete depletion of your microbiome. So common. Also, painkillers really disrupt the microbiome as well. Lots of medications are known to obviously mess with the microbiome and with gut motility, and we see more problems arise from that. Again, inflammation is just at its core that the cellular function is disrupted for a multitude. We have that metabolic chaos. So if you imagine throwing lots of pebbles into a pond and getting those little circular rings happening, those rings will become bigger and bigger and bigger, but they all touch each other eventually, right? Because the ripple effect keeps going and they will all interlink. So that's basically what we're talking about when we're trying to unravel that metabolic chaos. We're wanting to find out all the little pebbles that went into making the circles. The circles are your symptoms, the little waves that happen on the water, the little ripples. That's what you're feeling. But what we're trying to find out, like, can we get the pebbles back out of the water and stop having that ripple effect? We're not always going to find all of them, but your body has such an amazing, it always wants to heal. It always wants to restore. It is incredible at, if you cut yourself, your wound heals. It's basically like magic. If you think
it is, isn't it? Crazy.
Yeah. So it's doing that all the time. It keeps you at a perfect temperature all the time. All these processes happen all day long. So often we just have to remove a few of those root causes so that your body can finally do its healing process. We don't always have to understand, and we probably will never fully understand how the body actually does it, because it's an incredibly complex, hormonal and biochemistry process. You, as a biochemistry expert, knows it very well. And if you wanted to draw that up, it would be a really crazy drawing. But we don't have to. What we know is we go after the foundations, and we give the body enough consistency, nourishment, time, calm everything down so that the body can do its healing job.
Yeah, beautiful. As you were talking, it's almost like it feels the same as when we talk about the fear response. So, the response to stress is good and necessary. Where it gets a little bit pear-shaped is when we're under chronic stress. And so you're saying, like, inflammation is a good, healthy response to the body, seeing something that shouldn't be there, or a wound or whatever. The problems start happening when that is happening on a chronic long-term level, and the cumulative effect of that has other negative consequences. Is that a summary?
Yeah, exactly.
reasonably. Yeah.
Thanks for summarizing
Ah,
that.
that's all right. I'm just thinking because, it seems to me it's like all of these things that our body does, and I agree with you, our bodies are absolutely miraculous. Sometimes when if I'm talking to a friend and they're having one of those self-doubt moments, it's like, do you know how miraculous you are just being here? Like every single thing that's happening in your body at this time. Like it's just, I get very excited about that sort of stuff. So it's almost like these are healthy responses that our body has. It's just the chronicness of it. I know that's not a word, but let's just call it a word. So when we think about gut health being this key thing and it sounds like, you know what, I'm really glad that we can't all get implants, because I think then we would just circumnavigate the fact that we would actually have to take care of our nervous system to feel okay. Because it would just be another quick fix, right? Like, oh, shove an electrode in me, I'll be fine. Anyway, when you think about nervous system regulation and its connection to gut health, am I understanding you correctly by thinking that if we take care of regulating our nervous system, and one of the great ways to do that is to tone the vagal nerve, so like, I don't know, singing, humming, like all of the things that we can do for our vagal nerve, does that impact gut health in a way that makes it one of the fundamental things that you talk about, like the food and the nutrition and the sleep and the everything? Is that one of the major keys that we need to think about?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you've very eloquently said, stress is just stress. There's good stress, right? Stress can be a driver, can be
absolutely,
can be something positive. People pay money to jump out of airplanes.
I know, right?
Very much stress me a lot. I would not want to do that. It would be too much stress for me, but some people pay money for that and they absolutely love it and they're addicted to it, right? So what is stress for me is not necessarily stress for you. And there's also a lot of scientific literature into perceived stress, right? Again, jumping out of a plane, horrible for me, maybe the best thing that's ever happened to you. So how we perceive things and life events and things that happen to us is very pivotal. And there's a lot of scientific literature into that. And also there is a lot of scientific literature into, do we have a purpose in life? Are we feeling lonely? Do we have community? Do we have great relationships? So all of those factors that can be really stressful, to some people, we know that they will directly have an impact onto your cellular health. People have higher risk of every kind of mortality if they don't have a purpose in life, or if they don't feel connected to a greater good, whatever that may be. They feel disconnected from their community and they feel lonely and misunderstood. The most lonely cell in the human body actually turns into a cancer cell, right? It becomes so disconnected.
Wow.
And it stops communicating and it becomes so dysfunctional and lonely that it basically turns into a cancer cell and
isolates itself.
Taking, proliferating, and again, it's not communicating with the rest of the body. So that's the loneliness on a cellular level. So that always blows my mind. And so much research into, we can help people have better gut health or whatever, feel better overall if we talk to them and take time for them and listen to them and make them feel less lonely and, talk to them about these things. Like, what do you think your purpose is? That's not for me to answer, but maybe it's something that particularly midlife women, when we often, we've raised children and they're getting older and we are not so happy maybe with our careers sometimes because our first career maybe wasn't, and it was definitely the case for me.
Yeah.
I used to be an engineer and in the film industry.
I saw that. I was like, wow, that's a bit of a jump. Having those conversations and realizing that will also impact our health. It's not always the next best supplement. Or such a good point.
Eating the best organic broccoli. The state of your nervous system, every other process in your body as well. If you're in a toxic relationship or in a toxic work relationship where you're getting bullied or you're feeling unsafe, that level of unsafeness will be in your nervous system the entire time, and then nothing else can come from that. So that's why we talk about stress having such an impact on your gut, but not just on your gut. We know this, people get diarrhea or they get bloated when they're stressed or they can't eat. That's why our gut brain is so intelligent. We often have these, we stop eating or we start emotionally binge eating because we're trying to soothe our emotions, because food is so emotional. It's our first love language with our mothers, and that will never go away. But our gut is such a beautiful little report card of, hang on, what is actually also emotionally going on with me, and what am I trying to achieve with that food? Is it covering up my emotions? Am I drinking alcohol right now because I've been so stressed all day? I need to calm myself down and unwind. And then, being really honest and looking in the mirror and going, am I truly drinking the alcohol because it's purely out of enjoyment, because I love how it's being produced and the flavor it creates on my tongue? And is it doing anything amazing for me? Or is it very often, stress relief? Or is it very often out of insecurity and social events? It's definitely something that I also had to realize, and I think we all have a degree of that, where we just feel a little bit more relaxed in social situations if we've had a drink.
Yeah.
But that's completely without judgment. It's just saying, we all have these underlying mechanisms going on in our nervous system, just becoming aware of them and noticing that's what we're doing with certain behaviors, and they will affect our health. So it's a beautiful, very interesting journey of self-discovery and becoming more authentic and more honest with yourself,
Yeah, I really feel like the call in midlife is very much about actually being able to listen and respond to your needs, and realizing, like you said, like I've had so many careers, it's not funny, but just realizing what would actually give you that sense of purpose. I remember having a conversation with a friend about 18 months ago. It was still in a corporate job that I absolutely hated, like chronically stressed, not doing work that filled me up, not feeling like I was sort of offering anything to the world. I was just sort of going in and sort of, grinding away. And I just remember saying to her, I just want to feel useful. And I was like, wow, that's such it's a word that I wouldn't probably have used before, but I think it's that sense of purpose and connection to contribution. And as you're talking, I'm reminded of, I'm pretty sure it's the Harvard study about happiness, like life satisfaction, and the biggest indicator is how connected you are to other people, like by far. And this is like a study, I think, that's gone past. I think they're now studying the grandchildren of the original subjects, so they've got multiple generations. And I just think that is just such a huge thing, isn't it? Because you can have this like perfect, I don't know, low tox organic lifestyle, but if you don't have the sense of purpose, or if you've got a nervous system that's in hypervigilance because you've gone through trauma or whatever, like whatever it is, that's the imbalance. As you said before, one thing impacts everything else. So we can't, we'll take care of everything else, but just ignore that one big thing or the numbing behaviors.
They've gone into communities like little Italian towns or wherever in the world, where they actually eat not the perfect diet. They have a lot of cured meats and gluten and all the things that are so supposedly very evil, but they have such a strong sense of community in those places, and also often a very strong sense of religious purpose, spirituality that connects the community very closely. And those people had very high happiness scores. They enjoyed all of their meals together. And they had really great health outcomes. So again, if we go into eating while we're rushing, we're multitasking, we're on our phone, we're not doing it, we're not doing it to sit down with our loved ones. We're just doing it because we quickly have to eat between work. It's called the rest and digest nervous system for a reason. We are meant to pause and smell our food, appreciate our food, prepare our body for that incoming food so we can produce saliva and
eat with your eyes,
stomach acid, and all the digestive juices start happening just by looking and smelling the food, and then taking that time to, digest it, and resting, and then, maybe going for an easy stroll after, because that's what humans would have done. They would have gotten up and cleaned up their utensils and made a fire, or, stoked a fire and put the children
helped with the,
just continue the evening or whatever, but not continue with another immediately rushed. So we know that we cannot digest the food if we're still in a fight or flight, or in a rushing kind of nervous system. So all the beautiful organic food that you might have bought might not be digested properly as well. So some people then go, oh my God, I'm going to have to be perfect.
No.
That is not true, but your life will be so much richer if you do stop and sit in the sun for a few minutes while you're having your beautiful food, and listen to the birds sing. I mean, what's life otherwise for if you can't enjoy it with loved ones?
Exactly. I feel my husband's away firefighting at the moment, as he will be for a lot of months. And our two daughters are mainly, one's moved out and one is only here on the weekends. And so I'm now eating most of my meals by myself, and I've gotten into a bad habit of just grazing as I'm still working, and it's just no. So my new thing, a couple of weeks ago, I decided that when it's 12 o'clock, I'll just go outside and hang out with the dogs, which then helps me move, but also I'm outside, I'm seeing a little tiny bit of green where I've watered the grass. But you can hear the birds, and then I'm checking on other pumpkin seedlings that we put in, and that type of reconnection to something outside of this office and the work mode that I've been in. Geez, it makes a difference. And I'm just and then I've actually added in a little bit of I'm going to lay down on the grass and do a little bit of gentle movement, maybe close my eyes and just listen to everything, or maybe do a meditation, whatever. It doesn't take long, but it makes a massive difference to how nourished I feel. Real self-care, not the day spa kind of self-care, but the actual, the things that move the needles. Can I check in with you when we're talking about gut health, in what happens in midlife that can create maybe more pebbles, possibly, or maybe just, the tipping point of the pebbles, if we go back to the bucket analogy. And actually, no, before you answer that, how can gut health or poor gut health be identified? What are the things that people might be experiencing that maybe they don't even actually know that's a little bit of a flag for poor gut health?
Yeah, sure. I mean, poor gut health, your daily report card is definitely your bowel movement, right?
Yes.
So if you're spending too much time on the toilet for your poop, it should be coming out nice and easy, quite immediately. You shouldn't have time to scroll your social media for about 10 minutes.
Oh, God. Let's talk about that behavior.
Anyway. You should have a nice soft sausage shape, and definitely daily bowel movement. So there's a good start to kind of look at your daily report card. You can definitely also have more bowel movements than that, as long as they're still well shaped. That's a great idea, but we don't want to be constipated, and we don't obviously want to have liquidy kind of poo either. Acid reflux, bloating, all of those sort of things point to digestive issues. But we also know that, eczema, psoriasis, rosacea, all of those skin issues are very closely linked to the gut. And when we work on the gut, the skin usually improves. We know, again, that your brain health, as we've talked before, is very dependent on how well your gut functions. So many people won't notice a gluten sensitivity in their gut. They will actually get brain fog and more neurological symptoms, mood symptoms, and stuff like that. So a lot of people go, oh, but my gut health is fine because I'm pooping every day. It's like, well, unfortunately, that's not necessarily the case. So it's always a good idea you can always improve more, particularly in the modern world that we live in. We take medications, we are exposed to, chlorine in the water. If we don't filter it out, we are exposed to toxins all the time and things that can really disrupt our microbiome that we didn't have 50 years ago or definitely 100 years ago, right? So there's always room for improvement there, all of the pesticides that are being sprayed on. So, I say the same to the midlife ladies, no matter if you have gut symptoms or no matter if you have hormonal symptoms in midlife, the change is happening anyway. It's not just about hot flushes or weight gain, what a lot of midlife ladies complain about. It's really important to understand that, it affects the hormonal transition affects every single organ and cell and organ system in your body, no matter if you have symptoms or not. And it's really a crucial time to be proactive about your health, practice more self-care, pay more attention, because it's really that we spend a third of our life in menopause. And it's that other half, in our early 40s, from the age of 35, we start seeing hormonal shifts happen, depending of, when that final period of the woman happens. That's all a different time for us. Yeah. So it can happen a lot earlier on than women are aware of. And so we've got this whole other half of our life ahead. And we really got to start paying attention in 30s, beginning of our 40s, to set us up for success in that other half of our life. And, how are our bones going to be when we're 60, 70, and 80? How is our brain going to be as we age? How is our cardiovascular health going to be? Every system in the body gets affected, and that's not to scare people. It's just to be realistic, to be proactive, and to pay a little bit more attention, because again, we have so much power to have an easier transition. It's not just the easier transition that's the goal. The goal is I want you to be, long-term healthy and thrive until old age, so you don't end up with dementia in a care home, because that's a horrific thing if that's ever happened to a family member. So, Yeah,
I love the concept of perimenopause being this really powerful intervention period, if not before. I feel like it's almost like what you were saying about the report card. And I'm not saying that in terms of like, have you been good enough to have an easy menopause transition? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if there is imbalances, or if there is already lots of pebbles in the water creating that turbulence, there is, well, for me at least, it's been a time where I'm like, okay, some of the things that I have been doing are not sustainable if I want my health span and my lifespan to be the same. And that was quite, like I said before, like quite confronting. I just thought, because my dad went into, my dad was a super healthy 91-year-old, and his body just basically ran out of it, wore out, I guess. But that was what I expected to be aging like. And then all of a sudden to end up with chronic pain at 48, I think I am. Yes, 48. I'm grateful for it. Like, I haven't enjoyed being in pain every day, but I'm grateful for it because it has given me the report card or the calling card or the wake-up call or whatever you want to call it, to actually go, okay, well, what do I need to change? What are the things that I could, and like you said before, it's not about perfection, but I certainly was aware that nutrition was something that, I had always eaten pretty well, but a lot of not that well things had crept in, and bad behavior around, not eating for the whole day and then eating too much in the evening, like that sort of stuff. So I think if we reframe it as this powerful intervention period, then it becomes, like you were saying before, not victims, but okay, what's in my power to change, to influence. There is a lot of talk on the menopause nutrition / kind of social media platforms of pretty big influencers that are saying things like, it's inevitable that you'll gain weight. It's inevitable that you'll get the meno belly. It's inevitable that your metabolism will slow down, all of those things. What say you?
What say I?
Here's your chance to.
I haven't tuned into that side of social media. Maybe I shouldn't anyway.
No, I don't think you should.
I think a few kilos, like 2 or 3, to be precise, is a protective mechanism. There is some evidence that it's kind of a protective layer. But more than that is obviously, particularly if it's around your organs, the visceral fat, the belly fat, the dreaded midlife belly fat. We know it's directly linked to more
chronic disease risk.
More chronic disease, more inflammation, less lessened lifespan, et cetera. So I don't think it's inevitable. Again, we just need to pay more attention, because as our hormones, in the beginning, they kind of fluctuate in perimenopause, but towards the end, certainly closer towards menopause and then transitioning through menopause, they eventually obviously become very low, and hormones switch to being produced by the adrenal glands rather than the ovaries. And they are different, so they have a different effect. And so we just need to be aware of that. And it's like a recalibration of the body. Our body is trying to switch over to a different phase of life. And I think, and I agree with Lara Bryden and other people in the industry who are obviously at the forefront of this research, that it's not a negative thing, and our brain, our organs can adapt to that recalibration, but we need to give it, the raw materials and the attention to obviously have a better outcome at the end. It's really that window of opportunity where we can have, really amazing positive effects on our long-term health, and not just kind of throw our hands in the air and go, oh, I'm going to be fat anyway. I might as well eat all the chocolates and give up on myself. Certainly it becomes harder, and I'm experiencing that myself. Like, it's not as easy as it was in my 20s and 30s to just go to the gym a little bit and I would lose 2 kilos. It certainly doesn't happen anymore. But I don't agree to that stance that it's our metabolism slowing down. I think what is happening is that women have been dieting for decades, yo-yo dieting, fasting here, not eating there, not getting their thyroid the nutrients that it needs, not giving their metabolism, which is the cellular function of the body, the raw materials and nutrients that it needs to actually function optimally. So a lot of women, have been dieting so much that their metabolism has sort of, slowed down. But it's not inevitable. It's what the body does when we are in famine. The body will adapt beautifully to whatever you give it. If you continue to starve yourself on 1,500 calories or less of 1,000 calories, what some women do, your body will eventually, your thyroid function will slow down. It will get used to your crazy training that you're doing and to your calorie restriction, and then you can't lose weight anymore. So the body is a beautiful adaptive process. So sometimes, we need to get the ladies to eat more first, so that the body goes, okay, cool, we're getting all of these.
I'm safe.
My thyroid can actually, burn hotter. We can burn the metabolic fire hotter. And then when we later go into a little bit of a milder calorie deficit again, they can start losing fat more easily. The other big issue is obviously that we are losing muscle as we age, and that's a real fact. That's one of the structural things that definitely change and that we're fighting against. So paying more attention to maintaining muscle health will obviously lead to you being an 80-year-old who's still able to travel and live independently,
get around and pick things up and reach
lift up the grandchildren. And, that's obviously what we want. So it's not about looking ripped or looking fit. It's how strong do I need to be now that when I am 80, that I'm still able to lift the suitcase and my shopping and do things independently and not be reliant on caretakers, right? So preventing that muscle loss and obviously building more muscle becomes harder and harder, but it should be a very strong focus in midlife because it's just a fact. We are losing muscle, and we need to kind of push ourselves a little bit harder on that front. And the more muscle we have, the more insulin sensitive we stay, the more easy we can burn calories, the more carbohydrates we can usually eat, which are delicious. And
yes, indeed. Indeed,
we don't want to be. Life is not very enjoyable on a no carb diet, and we shouldn't be cutting out these carbs because our thyroid loves them. So I very much am a proponent of, weightlifting and eating adequate amounts of protein and having good muscle mass because that keeps our bones healthy. It's like your own metabolic organ, like the muscle becomes your own metabolic organ, and it allows you to eat much more food and not constantly starve yourself as well.
And that does wonders for your nervous system too, my friends.
And that is so much fun when we can eat delicious food.
Oh, I'm so excited. I just got cleared by my physio finally to go back to the gym, and I've been weight training since I was about 18. So to not be doing it for about 5 weeks now has been really weird. I've been doing Pilates, but that doesn't, anyway, that's fine. I mean, it is necessary for me as well. And it's good. I'm finding the mindfulness aspect of Pilates is really, really good because I was teaching a lot of yoga, but that doesn't help because you're not actually in your body, you're in teaching mode. So so I'm enjoying the Pilates, but far out. I'm just about to, my next thing when we get off the call is to pay my gym membership so I can go back again. I'm like,
it's so challenging when we can't do things. And, for sure, a lot of midlife ladies will have injuries, bad knees, bad backs. I've certainly got my share of experiencing pain and back pain.
Yes.
So, there is never a one size fits all, but everybody can do some form of resistance training and training that still aids in muscle maintenance and definitely also in growth. Again, like if some of the ladies are going too hard, too fast, they lift weights like crazy, they can't sleep, they can't recover, and then they wonder why they can't get rid of their weight or their belly fat. As soon as the training compromises your sleep, it's a warning signal that you may be overdoing it a bit and dial it back and maybe only go twice a week and do gentle walking and stretching exercise the other days. It's really a time where you have to listen to your body.
Yeah, definitely.
And faster is not always the best option. So yes, we in a sense have to, practice more self-care and work harder at it. But that doesn't mean that lifting the heaviest weights and going 5 times a week is the best thing. Like that can be super stressful to the body as well. You need to give yourself the time for nourishment and recovery too, and optimally fueling yourself. So really, working with somebody on individualizing that, your nutrition, but also, if you have never done it before, getting help from a PT who knows their stuff and maybe specialized in midlife as well, that you're learning to not injure yourself because an injury is bad, right? So.
That's where yes. Unstable pelvises and heavy weights don't go together. Nor do deep bones in yoga. Anyway, that's fine. My hypermobile skeleton likes to be at the end of its range, but yes, it's not good for your joint health. I'm wondering, on your website, you have a brand new helpful guide for ladies. Can you tell us a little bit about that and where to find it? And then we'll link it in the show notes as well, obviously, but just if anyone's listening and wanting to know.
Yeah, sure. So I've got a brand new menopause guide for you to, just start understanding and educate yourself about the basics, some easy tips of what you can do, hormone testing, blood testing, all of those sort of things. It could be interesting to reveal some of the things that are maybe needing to be optimized. I also have a free digital blood download there as well on my website that you can find. So lots of resources there for you. I also have a free Facebook group for midlife women.
Oh, cool.
Almost 1,500 women in there. So it's all about gut
Nice.
health and midlife. So
Yep.
if you're in that group, I would love to have you in there. Just request to enter and I'll let you in.
Very cool.
Go live there every week with different topics, everything between gut health, cellular health, and obviously hormone health. And yeah, you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very prolific.
We should say your business name is the Wellness Witches, which I absolutely love. It's such a cool, that's such a cool name. Thank you so much. We should tell everyone that you are at thewellnesswitches.com.au, and the free guide I found on your about page, but I'm not, is that the best page to find it?
Yeah, that is
perfect. Excellent. So I will link all of that in the show notes. Thank you so much. It's been such a good conversation to remind me of the importance of all of those. Like I talk about back to basics self-care and midlife, and it really is that, like, we all know, like if everyone's listening and we ask the question, what's one thing that you could do in the next week to just better nourish yourself? Everyone will have an answer. Top of mind. So yeah. Challenge, go and do it. Well, no, not even challenge, invitation to go and do it.
Yeah, just start with one action step at a time. The worst bit is we get overwhelmed, right? We go, oh my God, I've got to fix my nutrition. I got to hydrate, and I also got to sleep, and I got to remove all the toxins from my drinking water and out of my pantry. And then you basically become so overwhelmed that you don't do anything at all. So the easiest thing is, maybe for the hydration piece is the biggest for you. Just focus on that for the next 4 weeks and see how much difference it makes for you, and how eye-opening that experience is if you just focus on that for the next 4 weeks. Or maybe it is eating enough protein for the next 4 weeks and really tracking that and become aware of it, and planning your meals around it and not forgetting it and not skipping it, like actually being consistent with it. How does that feel in your body? How does it change how you exercise? How does it change how you sleep? For some of the ladies, it will be just prioritizing sleep. How life-changing would that be if you truly got 8 hours of really good quality sleep every single night for 4 weeks? How would your moods be? How would your energy be the next day, right? And just being kind and gentle with yourself, but actually prioritizing that for a good amount of time so you can see changes that those simple things make on your body.
So much to do with consistency, isn't it? That's another reason I'm going to be very happy to go back to the gym, because weight training, my sleep, like I do sleep well now at the moment, touch wood, thank you. But I will say that when I'm moving in that way, particularly, not so much the Pilates or the walking or whatever, but yeah, that does something magical to I reckon my sleep architecture. Yeah, it gets deeper and longer stretches of REM, because I wake up like like full energy. So that feels nice when it happens. So
amazing. Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you. It's been lovely to connect. Thank you to Lisa from Woman for the connection. Gotta love these midlife ladies. And I will make sure I'll get all the links that you've just mentioned to offer you to put in the show notes. So thank you so much for tuning in to another episode, and we will speak to you soon. Thanks so much for listening into today's episode. If you love the show, as I hope you do, please take the time to subscribe on your favorite pod listening platform and rate and review. And for bonus points, if you have a friend or someone who popped to mind as you were listening to this episode, why not hit the share link wherever you're listening and send them a little love bomb. Like, listen to this. Did you know this is normal? I really, really, really would love to get these beautiful stories into the hearts and ears and minds of so many more midlife mavens. And your help spreading the love is truly, truly appreciated. Thank you so much. I'm Kylie Patchett, your host, and have a spectacular day.